Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. This is the new intro to speech therapy. Many of you are probably wondering, what is speech therapy? It's a speech podcast that I created personally that deep dives into taboo topics, conflicts, and experiences that are not only relatable, but could potentially be avoidable. There are a wide range of discussions that I will be having surrounding books, films, pop culture, some current news, and more importantly, I will be having deep discussions about my own personal experiences growing up as a black, gay, creative male in a predominantly conservative, quote-unquote, Christian state. Now, your host, Ian McCrary, which is me, hi, will be doing most of the talking, but I will be having special guests, including friends and loved ones. Now, this podcast is very personal, okay? And the whole point is to broadcast my opinions and experiences into the ether of the internet world, almost like a way of leaving my own personal mark on society, if you will. And to also be a lighthouse to anyone else who felt alone or alienated growing up in the South, especially anyone in the present who can relate to my experiences, but never really found their own voice to speak on such things. I've always felt that I cannot be the only one having these thoughts or opinions, and I know that the world is way, way bigger than Greer, South Carolina. So, speech therapy was born. I'm not looking to monetize, I'm not looking for likes, I'm not even really looking specifically for comments or followers. Maybe one day in time, if I'm consistent, all of that will come. But for now, I'm looking for my voice to be heard. The environment I grew up in, compared to the harsh reality that is life, it tried so hard to silence me, change me, make me into someone I'm not. I may not yet know who I am or how far I'll go, but I know where I've been and how far I've come. And that, ladies and gentlemen, needs to be discussed. So, welcome to speech therapy. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode of Speech Therapy. I'm your host, Ian McCrary, and today I have a story for you guys. So, right now, it is currently 1 o'clock in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. I am recording this podcast because I do not have to work in the morning, and I knew that I've already had the outline for this episode written out, and I wanted to go ahead and record, but I needed a quiet time to do it. And what better time to record than when the entire world around me is asleep? Or so I think. Or at least quiet enough in order for me to record without having any interruptions or anything in the background. I want you to hear my voice as clearly as I can present it to you, and as perfect sounding as it can be. I hope that I have good diction for the story that I'm about to tell, and let's get into it. So, a couple years ago, my coworker and I, Eduardo, were talking at work, and he asked me if I'd ever heard of a story he read on Reddit called The Egg Theory. I didn't know what to say. My first thought was, did he just say The Egg Theory? What? Reddit? What? What is this guy on? Is he on the dark web? During that time, I just really didn't get on Reddit a lot, or any kind of deep dive into YouTube, TikToker conspiracies, or general flat earth truther conspiracy theories online. The only time I was online was when I was posting on Snapchat. This was a couple years ago, way before the pandemic. and way before the internet and technology has really taken off. And I told him, no, I've never heard of the egg theory. What is it? And he said, well, it's a story he read on Reddit. He said, look it up online, Google it, and I think you can maybe find, some links to it. So I told him I would on our next break, and I found the story by Andy Weir. So the title is called The Egg. You were on your way home when you died. It was a car accident. Nothing particularly remarkable, but fatal nonetheless. You left behind a wife and 2 children. It was a painless death. The EMTs tried their best to save you, but to no avail. Your body was so utterly shattered, you were better off. Trust me. And that's when you met me. What? What happened? You asked. Where am I? You died, I said, matter-of-factly. No point in mincing words. There was a truck, and it was skidding. Yep, I said. I died? Yep. But don't feel bad about it. Everyone dies, I said. You looked around. There was nothingness. Just you and me. What is this place? You asked. Is this the afterlife? More or less, I said. Are you a god? You asked. Yep, I replied. I'm God. My wife, my kids, you said. What about them? Will they be all right? That's what I like to see, I said. You just died, and your main concern is for your family. That's good stuff right there. You looked at me with fascination. To you, I didn't look like God. I just looked like some man, or possibly a woman, some vague authority figure, maybe. More of a grammar school teacher than the Almighty. Don't worry, I said. They'll be fine. Your kids will remember you as perfect in every way. They didn't have time to grow contempt for you. Your wife will cry on the outside, but will be secretly relieved. To be fair, your marriage was falling apart. If it's any consolation, she'll feel very guilty for feeling relieved. Oh, you said. So, what happens now? Do I go to heaven or hell or something? Neither, I said. You'll be reincarnated. Ah, you said. So the Hindus were right, huh? All religions are right in their own way, I said. Walk with me. You followed along as we strode through the void. Where are we going? Nowhere in particular, I said. It's just nice to walk while we talk. So what's the point then? You asked. When I get reborn, I'll just be a blank slate, right? A baby? So all my experiences and everything I did in this life won't matter? Not so, I said. You have within you all the knowledge and experiences of all your past lives. You just don't remember them right now. I stopped walking and took you by the shoulders. Your soul is more magnificent, beautiful, and gigantic than you can possibly imagine. A human mind can only contain a tiny fraction of what you are. It's like sticking your finger in a glass of water to see if it's hot or cold. You put a tiny part of yourself into the vessel. And when you bring it back out, you've gained all the experiences it had. You've been in a human for the last 48 years. So you haven't stretched out yet and felt the rest of your immense consciousness. If we hung out here long enough, you'd start remembering everything. But there's no point to doing that between each life. How many times have I been reincarnated then? You asked. Oh, lots. Lots and lots. And into lots of different lives. I said. This time around, you'll be a Chinese peasant girl in 540 AD. Wait, what? You stammered. You're sending me back in time? Well, I guess technically. Time, as you know it, only exists in your universe. Things are different where I come from. Where you come from? You said. Oh, sure, I explained. I come from somewhere else. And there are others like me. I know you'll want to know more about what it's like there, but honestly, you wouldn't understand. Oh, you said, a little let down. But wait, if I get reincarnated to other places in time, I could have interacted with myself at some point. Sure. Happens all the time. And with both lives only aware of their own lifespan, you don't even know what's happening. So, what's the point of it all? Seriously? I asked. Seriously? You're asking me for the meaning of life? Isn't that a little stereotypical? Well, it's a reasonable question. You persisted. I looked you in the eye. The meaning of life, the reason I made this whole universe, is for you to mature. You mean mankind? You want us to mature? No, just you. I made this whole universe for you. With each new life, you grow and mature and become a larger and greater intellect. Just me? What about everyone else? There is no one else, I said. In this universe, there's just you and me. You stared blankly at me. But all the people on earth, all you, different incarnations of you. Wait, I'm everyone? Now you're getting it, I said, with a congratulatory slap on the back. I'm every human being who ever lived, or who will ever live, yes. I'm Abraham Lincoln, and you're John Wilkes Booth, too, I added. I'm Hitler, you said, appalled. And you're the millions he killed. I'm Jesus, and you're everyone who followed him. You fell silent. Every time you victimize someone, I said, you were victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was, or will be, experienced by you. You thought for a long time. Why? You asked me. Why do all of this? Because someday you will become like me. Because that's what you are. You're one of my kind. You're my child. Whoa, you said, incredulous. You mean I'm a god? No. Not yet. You're a fetus. You're still growing. Once you've lived every human life throughout all time, you will have grown enough to be born. So the whole universe, you said, it's just an egg, I answered. Now it's time for you to move on to your next life. And I sent you on your way. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of the egg by Andy Weir. So, after I read that story, I went back to Eduardo and I asked him if he'd read the story. And he just gave me this stupid look like, oh yeah, no, I didn't just suggest it to you because I didn't read the story, you know? So I realized there was a redundant question. And, we started talking about it, and I asked him his thoughts and opinions on the entire theory behind it. So the egg theory is a short generalization of an opinion of what the story of the egg is by Andy Weir. And it's the entire universe was created as an egg for the main character, which is all of humanity. And once you have lived every human life ever, you will be born a god. Now, the reason God created the universe was for the main character, you, to understand this point. Every time you victimize someone, you are victimizing yourself. So after I read something like that, I was instantly hooked. I was hooked on the whole idea and the concept that was this story. After hearing Eduardo's thoughts and opinions on it, I just decided to do my own research, because he was basically telling me that he only read the story on Reddit. And he hadn't really given it much thought since he read it. But, the conversation we were having prior kind of like jogged his memory about it. And he said, I don't know, it was just like a story that I read that really got me thinking about reincarnation. Here's the thing, okay? This is the moral of the story. In case you missed the basic theme in The Egg, it is saying that every time you victimize someone, you are victimizing yourself. Every act of kindness you've done to yourself. Every happy and sad moment ever experienced by any human was or will be experienced by you. Now, that is a direct quote from the story, and it really got me thinking, so where does this come from, And the main character, you, in the story, mentioned that the Hindus were right. So that was my first clue, and that's what I went digging on. And I did my research on Hinduism. So Hinduism is an Indian religion, or dharma, a religious and universal order or way of life by which followers abide. As a religion, it is the world's third largest, with approximately 1.2 billion followers. That's 15% of the global population. And they're known as Hindus. So, what's the simple definition of Hinduism? Hinduism can be defined as a collection of the religion, culture, and philosophy of ancient India. It is characterized by belief in reincarnation, as well as in a supreme god or entity called Brahman, who has multiple manifestations as a variety of deities. That really, really piques my interest. The three main beliefs of Hinduism is a belief in many gods, which are seen as a manifestation of a single entity. A preference for one deity while not excluding or disbelieving others. And then the last one is a belief in the universal law of cause and effect, karma, and reincarnation. So I was completely floored. I was completely floored, guys. And it really just, I followed the rabbit hole. I followed the rabbit hole and I dug deeper and I found out that some believe in 4 main beliefs of Hinduism, not just 3. So Hindus believe that there are 4 main goals in human life, okay? Karma, the pursuit of pleasure. Artha, the pursuit of material success. Dharma, leading a just and good life. And moksha, which is enlightenment, which frees a person from suffering and unites the individual soul with the one single entity, Brahman. And so you see how it all comes back together back to the first point that I gave you of a belief in multiple entities consumed into one. So the four main beliefs of Hinduism is basically what I just gave you: the pursuit of pleasure, the pursuit of material success, the pursuit of living a good and just life, and enlightenment. So Hindus believe they can be enlightened. They believe they can live a good and just life, not doing any wrong, not cursing anybody out, not eating the wrong things. They also believe in karma, or the pursuit of pleasure. Oh, excuse me, not karma. They believe in kama, not karma. Wow, I must have been saying it wrong the whole time. Excuse me. And so it really just piqued my interest, and the things that I was finding, I had already heard on different platforms surrounding certain conspiracy theories that are connected to Hinduism and Islam. And as far as Christianity goes, with the Holy War and the Crusades back all those centuries ago, it really just piqued my interest. And when I dug even deeper, because guys, I'm telling you, I really followed the rabbit hole. I found that there's only one difference between Hinduism and Buddhism, because I thought that Hinduism and Buddhism were alike in some ways, because, obviously of the ism part. But also, moving past my ignorance, I thought that, they're similar in aspects of, if you believe you do good in the world and not do any evil, not curse anybody out, then you'll live a good and just life. I believe that Buddha also thought the same thing, but I was wrong. I found that Buddhism and Hinduism, they agree on karma, dharma, moksha, and reincarnation. But where they're different is that Buddhism rejects the priests of Hinduism, which involve the formal rituals and the caste system within Hinduism. And Buddha urged people to seek enlightenment through meditation, which is the only thing that Hinduism, as far as reaching enlightenment, they didn't do. They didn't meditate, but Buddhists do. And I said, well, what the? It was blowing my mind, man. It was blowing my mind. And it's crazy? Eduardo, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry I never told you any of this research that I found, but please forgive me. If you're listening to this, you're listening to all the information I have to give now. But it really just fascinates me, reading a story like that, hearing my coworker Eduardo's opinions on it, and then doing my own research and following this deep rabbit hole. Because I'm telling you guys, I found so much. I'm not even done. I'm only in the middle. And it really just fascinates me, because I believed in my own religion and my own spirituality at the time, as far as being, a Southern Baptist Christian. And I just never really, thought about any other religion outside of my own Christianity. I'm going to be completely 100 with you. I didn't think about it, But now that I'm getting older, and I'm going back on some past situations and reflecting on my life and sharing it on this podcast, it's important to know that I'm aware of how young I was and unaware. And I'm also aware of how brave I am to speak on my vulnerability, especially on this podcast, And so in saying that, I found that, is there any correlation between Christianity and Hinduism? That's a question I asked myself. So as I was digging deeper, the answer came to me. Well, maybe not necessarily an answer, but an explanation, another perspective, if you will. So Hinduism tends toward a belief in an eternal universe, which is monistic and divine. But Christianity believes in a single eternal God who created a material universe, giving it a beginning, a purpose, and a destiny, which is basically the Bible in a nutshell. Let's be honest. The correlation between what the egg and the story symbolized is that in the story, the egg stands for the luring promise of success, Because if you think about it this way, chickens are hatched from eggs, okay? And then the hatched chickens will produce more eggs. And then more chickens, more eggs. So the cycle of production goes on, and the fortune accumulates. That whole story fascinated me because it really made me think. And it really got me wondering about actual different reincarnations, stories that are out there in the universe, in the world, on different podcasts, on different YouTube channels. And it's really cool because I actually have heard a couple reincarnation stories, okay? And I'm not necessarily saying I don't believe in it or I don't believe in reincarnation, but I've thought about it. I mean, why wouldn't I? Especially now in my life where I'm trying to be more aware of certain situations and exploring my spirituality more than my religion. And I have to say, guys, it's an amazing journey, but it's also enlightening. Very, very exhausting, though, I will say, because I'm having to reflect a lot and check my attitude. And I have to always check in with myself, basically, so to speak. Now, I know that's not going to be the same for everybody, okay? That's just my personal experience. And, yeah, I wanted to tell you that story because, you know, these are the kind of things that I want to share on my podcast. And I hope you enjoyed the story. I hope it blew your mind the same way it blew mine. And I really just hope it made you think. So, take care of yourself. I'll talk to you next time.
So, you know that Ian guy? Yeah, he is super weird. No, he is really weird. Like in real life, he is really weird. Let me tell you something. I hate talking to him. Yes, because some of the shit that he says makes so much sense. I just don't be thinking about it like that, you know? And it just blows my mind. The way he be breaking shit down and then how I understand, it blows my mind. I hate talking to him. He's super weird, bro. I hate talking to him. But, let me tell you something. Girl, stay away from him. Okay? Stay away from him. Don't talk to him. But I'm telling you, I hate talking to him, girl. Stay away from him. I'm telling you. You just gotta stay away, girl. You just gotta stay away. I hate talking to him. I hate talking to him. It's just a lot. Like, stay away from him. Oh my God, I beg of you. If you see him coming down the street, cross and go the other way. I promise you. Yeah, he caught me yesterday. I was running into the store for my grandmother. I was picking up her medication, and I come around the corner on an aisle, and he was there looking at deodorant. So I spoke, you know, he said hello, and then we started talking, and girl, I had a whole epiphany talking to this man in the middle of the store. It was crazy, girl. I hate talking to him because, listen, after I got my grandma's medication and on my way back home, I thought about so much in my life, girl, that I don't normally think about on a day-to-day basis. I had a whole epiphany in that store talking to him, and like, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you see him coming, stay away from him. That kid is really weird. He'll make you think. But anyways,